Here we got it sitting on tires. Now y'all have seen what we've done with the rear four link. Here's the front four link set up. We've got this little helmet built. We're going to tie in from here to do some form of a triangle. We're going to catch these two bolts. Now the reason we're doing that is because this plug weld here, where the axle tube is pressed into the housing, they're supposed to be spot welded in, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this hole up and spot weld it into the housing into it, because the housing is cast, the tube is not. What we're worried about is all the pressure is sit on this one tube. Alright, with that being said, if this torques, we're liable to twist our axle housing. I'm sorry, yes, our axle housing. There's one there. There's one there. And I'll show you here. This is pretty sharp. We come up with this guy here. Now if you see, we've got basically 1.5 inches in between here, and instead of cutting the housing out, which some people say to do, we had a buddy actually had his fail because he had done that. He cut his axle housing out. The tube didn't slide it enough to get his spring perch on. Well, instead of doing that, we've just burned in. I've just burned in. Whatever. Have left it, incorporated that in. And I think I might have showed you all this on the last video, but this is our upper mount. We dropped it down 4 inches. Anyways, there's our update. We did a flex test on it, and we got the tire up roughly, 30 inches. We ran out of jack. I didn't. I'll probably play with it later, maybe if I do. We're fixing to pull. There's the engine hoist over there. We'll fixing to pull the motor so I can disassemble everything, turn the frame upside down, burn everything in solid, all my welds, all my links, all my tabs, all that. Everything's gonna get burned in, and I think we're gonna roll it out right now, pull the motor. How small?
Before you quit for good. So stop thinking you're a failure. Because what you really are is just a normal human being up against.
Okay, we got the frame upside down. I think I did video of it right side up, and I discussed that we were going to weld everything. Well, at this point, everything's welded up. Been upside down, everything's welded.
Smoking was in. Now, quitting is so much better.
This is a cross member for the lower link bars. Ties in. I went ahead and webbed it on both sides just for the strength factor. This is the upper. Cool buckets. Y'all get the idea. Fixing to flip it, and start rolling axles underneath it. Okay, here we are. All bullshit aside, 20 minutes later, we got the axles rolled in, bolted up. The frame's actually flipped over. Axles rolled in. They're not bolted in permanent, but they're in and set, and it's sitting on its own weight again. All welded up. Now you can see all the top sides are welded. No, I can show you all the rest of them. But okay, got the motor back in. Frame sitting it's on its own. Axles, link bars, everything's welded in happy. All the uppers welded in. We had a hell of a time with the transfer case. We ended up having to take the 231, which we weren't really happy about anyways, out. And we got a 1356 Borg Warner. And then we got drive shafts in, hooked up. Looks like we have a happy angle all the way around. Got a transfer case. I'll show that right now. Transmission transfer case cross member, which is this guy right here. You can see we took a 3-inch box, cut it down, and then we boxed it in. If you can look in there, you cannot. Yeah, there you go. You can see the bolts in there. There's also right there 2 more bolts on the top. So a good side view of it is right there. You can see all the bolts. And there's our back bracket mount, or not our back bracket, that's our transmission bracket, the back side of it. There's the front of it, side view, it's webbed in happy. There's a transfer case. We're mocking up the tank now, and everybody, you hear the noise in the background, everybody's setting up to put the tub back on. Haven't done a lot of videos on it. We haven't made a whole lot of forward progress. It's been stuff that nobody wants to see, tinkering here and there. Transfer case was a major issue. So we ended up pulling it and had to redesign everything, drive shafts, everything. Luckily we hadn't had drive shafts burnt in, but we had an idea what we were going to do, and none of that worked. We had a spud shaft. This is the advanced adapter kit that went from the Turbo 350 to the NP 231. This is the 1356 here, but it was a 231. The spud shaft in it was tiny, and I'll show you that here in a second. And it had been, the threads coming at it had been twisted. It's pretty interesting, but I'll show a picture of that right now. See how they're twisted there at the end, right close to my index finger knuckle. They're all that way. And that was a tiny little guy there. So we ended up getting rid of that and went with a bigger T-case. So everything's bolted up. Once again, here's a close-up of our bracket. I thought that was pretty sharp. Everything bolts in. We're fixing to pull this cat out. And our drive shaft angle. Dadgummit, I don't have my drive shaft in. The rear drive shaft angle was as extreme as I thought it was going to be. It's not a deal breaker. You can see, simulate the angle. It's we're going to make it work. Anyways, here's an update.